Hi guys, welcome to a Very Mary Sue review for Marked Chapter 8. If you've missed the last review or any of the reviews before that, you can check down at the bottom. There will be a link to the previous review, and at the beginning of that post, there will be a link to the chapter before that, and so on and so forth. So you should be able to follow the chain. In the previous chapter, Neferet, who started to take Zoe on a tour of the campus on their way to the dorms, so Zoe can kind of get settled in. Neferet leaves Zoe alone for like 2 minutes, which you really can't do ever, apparently. And Zoe witnesses this really awkward and uncomfortable and inappropriate moment between this guy and a girl, and this girl is trying to force herself on this guy sexually, and the guy's like not really into it and tries telling her no, and then he locks eyes with Zoe, and there's an instant emotional connection, and then he shoves the girl away, and then the girl's all like, oh my god, I totally hurt someone this time, or figures out that someone's there, and Zoe runs, and it's awkward. We're moving on. Zoe has just figured out that she doesn't hurt anymore. Her head doesn't hurt, her stomach doesn't hurt, nothing hurts. She's all peachy keen and dandy. My head even had stopped hurting. I was absolutely totally not thinking about the disturbing scene I'd accidentally witnessed. I was forgetting it on purpose, just in case we couldn't figure that out. The last thing I needed was to have more to deal with than a new life and a weird mark. So blowjob, forgotten. So this book is written by a mother and daughter duo, and I like to think, and as much as I like to think about it, which is not a whole lot, all things considered, that one of them wrote the previous chapter featuring the awkwardness, and the other one was just like blowjob forgotten because I need to forget that scene ever happened, and that scene was written by my mother / my daughter, because how awkward would that be? Could you imagine being the editor for that? Ooh. Anyways, Zoe's in denial. She could almost pretend things are back to normal if she weren't walking through campus with a undead person. And they get to the dorms, which are actually completely not what Zoe expects. They're actually really nice looking, and they have color. They have soft blue and antique yellow with comfy couches and clumps of puffy pillows big enough to sit on, dotting the room like giant pastel M&Ms. Zoe kind of compares everything to some sort of chocolate or candy or other food item, which is kind of funny considering every time Zoe sees any chocolate or candy, she's like, I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to eat it now. And it's kind of like a bit of foreshadowing, because it gets to the point, I think, where Zoe meets anything, and she's just like, I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to eat it now, whether it be a person or a non-person or something that used to be a person. All the conversation stops. The girls who are watching MTV's Real World, all of them, apparently, because that's what we do when we're alone. Us girls, we just watch MTV's Real World. They stop talking, and they turn and they stare at Zoe's mark on her forehead. And then Neferet introduces her. For a second, I didn't think anyone was going to say anything, and I wanted to die of new kid mortification. Then a girl stood up from among the middle of a group that was clustered around one of the TVs. She was a tiny blonde and darn near perfect. Actually, she reminded me of a young version of Sarah Jessica Parker, who I don't like, by the way. She's just so annoying and unnaturally perky. And this is the point where I'm like, NB, as in NB Dementia Darkness Way, I don't remember how that name goes. NB from My Immortal and Zoe would really get along because they're basically the same character, but also because they hate posers and preps, and they could totally, bond over that before they started hating each other, which is what they do. They just hate everyone who isn't them or their current love interest at the time. Hi Zoe, welcome to your new home. The SJP look-alike smile was warm and genuine, and she was clearly making an effort to make eye contact instead of gawk at my darkened-in Mark. Instantly, I felt bad for making a negative comparison about her. I would give Zoe kudos if the following didn't immediately happen. I'm Aphrodite, she said. Aphrodite? Okay, maybe I hadn't been too hasty in my comparison. How could anyone normal choose Aphrodite as her name? Please, talk about delusions of grandeur. Okay, first of all, Zoe, you don't know this girl's life. You don't know her circumstances. You don't know her thought process behind it. There could be a number of good reasons why she would choose Aphrodite that has nothing to do with her being full of herself. Granted, because this girl is going to be the big bitch of the book, it's going to be because she's full of herself, and this book does nothing but promote girl hate and try to justify it by making a ridiculous caricature of a mean girl in the form of Aphrodite. But, you know, good reasons why someone could choose that name. They could want the confidence that would go with having a name like that. They could feel some sort of affinity for the goddess or what the goddess stands for, or it could be like a family thing. It could be an inside joke. You don't know. Anyways, Aphrodite offers to show Zoe to her room. She asks Nefert for permission. There's this awkward stare down between Nefert and Aphrodite, and then Nefert's like, oh my god, totally, escort my mentee Zoe to her room. And Aphrodite's eyes flash with anger, and Zoe's just like, maybe I imagined it, but my tummy tells me I didn't imagine it, and I didn't need my new intuition to clue me in that something was wrong, because Aphrodite laughed, and I recognized the sound of it. Feeling like someone had punched me in the gut, I realized that this girl, Aphrodite, had been the one I just watched with the guy in the hall. Dun dun dun. Which is not like, oh, she's a bad person because she tried to force herself on someone who had repeatedly said no and made it very clear that they were not interested in doing anything with them, which should be, because that is a bad thing to do, and that does make her a not nice person. But it's because, oh my god, she's so slutty, she wanted to do something sexual at any point in time, which is not an okay thing to do, because someone's sexual decisions have nothing to do with you, Zoe, and you don't need to be making any judgments on something that you have no say in and doesn't affect you in any way, shape, or form. And if a girl wants to get jiggy with it in a hallway with the guy who's totally into it, that's cool. The only reason why it wasn't okay was because the guy was not totally into it. It had nothing to do with either one of them doing something sexual. Except for the sexual thing was non-consensual. That's, yeah, anyways. Nefert's like, totally, take her to her room. And Zoe's just like, I don't feel okay with this. But then Nefert calls her Zoe Bird, and suddenly everything's okay, and she doesn't have any reservations anymore, and they leave. And on the way, of course, Aphrodite's like, the only cool place in this, like, I'm the reason this place is cool, and the reason it's amazing. And Zoe's just like, what, bitch? And then, of course, Aphrodite threatens her in the hallway and is like, stay out of my way. People may think you're special, but you just need to get the fuck out of my way, basically. And Zoe's just, now she's pissed off, and she's just like, I have no control over being special, like, blah, 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 and it's stupid. And then it just gets worse, because Aphrodite goes, good, just so we understand each other, after nothing was really understood there, except for they hate each other, apparently. Huh? I understood she'd forgotten to take her meds, but that was all I understood. First of all, Zoe, medicine is not going to make you not be a bad person if you're just a bad person, for no reason. In this book, Aphrodite's supposed to be a bad person, well, because of some issues that she has, but in general, she's just a mean person because she's a mean person. Medicine isn't going to stop that. Like, if someone wants to be a bully, they're going to be a bully, medicine or no. And, second of all, being on medicine does not make you a bad person. It usually has no bearing on how you treat other people. You can be on medicine for any number of reasons, and no one should ever feel bad for being on medicine. Medicine is there to help you, and there is no reason that you should feel ashamed for needing help, because everybody needs help at some point. It's just fact. Aphrodite takes Zoe to Stevie Ray, who is a little country girl, kind of very innocent, and she is Zoe's roommate. And Aphrodite kind of mocks Stevie Ray for a little bit. Then Aphrodite leaves, and Stevie Ray and Zoe bond over their hatred of Aphrodite and how it's scary being in a new school. And Zoe cries in front of Stevie Ray after Stevie Ray kind of tears up first, which just seems really out of character from what we've seen from Zoe so far. She seems like the type of person to kind of mock that behavior, or just, hold it in until she's alone or in front of the love of her life sort of thing. And Stevie Ray is actually pretty nice to talk about their background. She doesn't ask about her mark because she feels like Zoe will talk about it when she needs to. And Stevie Ray is actually like a pretty good character, except for the fact that her character is pretty much only there to be a yes woman for Zoe and to kind of be like, oh, you're always right and you're totally the good person. And it's just, it's pitiful. But also they're talking about the school uniform, and Zoe's just, how Zoe has to change for dinner into the school uniform. And Stevie Ray says, Nefret had some clothes delivered here last night. Don't worry about the sizes not being right. Somehow they always know what size we'll be before they actually see us. It's kind of freaky how the adult vamps know way more than they should. It's creepy, yes, but it's also not surprising because they know where you work. They know where you go to school. They know where you live. They know your full name. They know your routine. They know the routes you take. They have to track you down in order to do this and then, brutally mark you in a process that could possibly kill you. And it's surprising that they know your dress size. Like, they know all this, and they wouldn't bother to look up your dress size. And, of course, like every Mary Sue, when they go to a new place, they have to have a whole new wardrobe, totally full of bitchin' new clothes that totally fit right. Obviously. God. And then they get ready for dinner with their pretty bitchin' uniforms that are a deep, pretty shade of purple with little black pied lines, which is actually, I really like the color purple, but whatever. And then the chapter ends with, it just mocks itself, really. But it was the sapphire-colored mark that caught my eyes, while I stared at it, entranced by its exotic beauty. This is her own mark, by the way, of course. The bathroom light caught the silver labyrinth embroidered over my heart. I decided that the two symbols somehow matched, even though they were different shapes, different colors. So surprising, right? That things can match without being exactly the same? What? But did I match them? And did I match this strange new world? I squeezed my eyes shut tightly and hoped desperately that whatever we were eating for dinner, oh please let there not be any blood drinking involved, wouldn't disagree with my already screwed up nervous stomach. Oh no, I whispered to myself. It would be just my luck to get a raging case of diarrhea. And I'm not making that up. That is actually the last line. And we're going to end on that note. So until next time.